Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our second meaningful conversation with Eva Olsson and Yvonne Heath. Just before we get started, I'll just tell you a little bit about these two amazing ladies. Eva Olsson is a Holocaust survivor and an incredible person. For 50 years, she remained silent about her experiences during the Holocaust. In 1996, she began speaking in schools, churches, and conferences, hoping her accounts could relay the need for compassion and tolerance. Eva is the recipient of the Order of Ontario and received the Diamond Jubilee Medal for continued service to communities across Canada. She is also the author of 3 books and the creator of a documentary called Stronger Than Fire, the Eva Olsson story. And we also have Yvonne Heath, who is considered by Ambassador Magazine as Canada's rising star. Yvonne shares how we can teach people how to just show up for themselves and others so they are empowered and resilient when grief and life's challenges arrive. Using heart and humor, she shares her message across Canada, helping people of all ages learn to take care of themselves and others. She is an award-winning author of the book Love Your Life to Death and a celebrated TEDx speaker. She also has her own television series and radio program. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Jordy.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to be here.
So am I.
Excellent. Eva, I would love to start with you. Eva, can you just take a moment and talk about the legacy that your parents left you and how it affected your life?
Okay. Well, I mentioned in the earlier show that I was born in Hungary, and my parents financially were very poor, and we lived in one room with no facilities. There were 3 children already before I came along. You know what happened those days? There was no television. People had children.
That was their entertainment.
And they had 6 in 7 years.
Oh.
So my mom got pregnant, and the doctor ordered her to have an abortion. She was unwell. And here is where the legacy began. She wasn't going to have an abortion. She stayed in bed 8 months. She also told me they had a big pea pot in the middle of the room. This is an unheated. And there was nothing. I went there to see when I was about 12 or 13 years old to see where I was born. A shed. What did I learn from all this? My mom staying in bed? Her courage and compassion for a human life. That's what I took with me to the camps, and that's what helped me to survive. The legacy my father passed on was more on the negative side. He was prejudiced against public education. We were not allowed to go to school. My 2 brothers went to Jewish school to learn Hebrew. I became a rebel. I disobeyed those rules. I didn't go to school, but I used to stand by the window crying because I wanted to go to school. I wanted to learn what's out there. But it wasn't allowed. I used to get spanked more time than there are chopsticks. But still, I was determined to become the person I was destined to be. I have nothing against religion, but it didn't make me the whole person. I needed to know about other people. So how do you live with that negativity? I became a liar. Literally speaking, I became a liar. I want to jump ahead a little bit with your permission.
Please.
In 1939, when I was 39 rather, I became a widow. My husband, Rudy, he took care of everything. But now I have to go to the bank, pay the mortgage, the hydro. There was no online banking. I wouldn't have known what to do with it anyway. So one day, and this is north of Toronto, small community, population 9,000, Richmond Hill. I go into the bank and I say, can you help me? I forgot my glasses. Then I began to question myself. This is a community where the cats and the dogs know each other. How long are you gonna lie? Immediately, there was my mom. What would she do? She would tell the truth. One day, I went into the bank, and I remember there was only 2 tellers, and I said, can you help me? I don't know how to read or write. She said, we'll be very happy to do so. What happened that day? I took the first step to walk through that door, a door that was always open. I was just afraid what I might find on the other side. You know what I found? The sun was shining. I was 39. Now I'm 65, and the sun is still shining. Because I had enough courage to get rid of that negativity that I carried with me for so many years. I was offered a job. I went to help a doctor's wife that was a nurse that looked after Rudy. They had 2 little boys. While he was seeing patients at home, and she helped him. And I went and she paid me $2 an hour. I was in doggy heaven. Mm-hmm. One day, for some reason, she liked me. So one day she said, Eva, I'm going to help you and teach you how to file the OHIP cards for the patients. I wasn't going to tell her I don't know how to read or write. So I called next day and said, I can't come anymore. Mm-hmm. What I've learned, if somebody doesn't like me because I'm uneducated, that's their problem, not mine.
That's just such a powerful story.
And I still don't know much how to read or write. And I'm okay with it because lots of people love me. And that's what keeps me going. When I had a 4-year-old little boy, grade 4 little boy, asking me, what gives you the courage to come here and speak? And I said, you. Multicultural. He went home and told his mom. The mom called the school. And the teacher called me. That's where I get the courage from and love from the people. I cannot change the past, but I have had enough blessings in my life that I can move ahead. When Rudy was hurt, another engineer and his wife, we went to the hospital in Richmond Hill. And Joan said, Eva, how can you smile when Rudy is so sick? I said, Joan, you see that window facing Major Mackenzie? I can lie down beside him and die. But I have a 10-year-old son to raise. And if I can't smile or laugh, I'm not good for him. A matter of fact, the third book that we wrote together about mother and son relationship with 15 life lessons for mothers, teachers, and teenagers. In that book, he talks about when he was 10 years of age and what happened. And he says, my mom is a Holocaust survivor. She doesn't know how to read or write. She can't help me with my homework. But my mom gave me something that a teacher can't: unconditional acceptance. I did then, and that still applies today. Acceptance.
Oh,
I know this is great. And thank you for sharing everything, Eva. And just so everybody knows, we will include the links and the book titles with this video. So if anybody would like to purchase a copy, we can help them do that.
Thank you.
so
Now,
Eva, can I jump in for a second? I think, did you say that you were 65? Because
When?
I think that, I believe you said that, and I want people to know how amazing you are because you're a little over 65.
I'm 95.
yeah, because if you,
just for the record.
yeah, but if you told people you were 65, looking at you, I would believe you. You
Oh,
are amazing. You are amazing. I have to say that.
I met an amazing young man today. Actually, I spent an hour with him. And I came out, and it happened to be at the bank. And I said to the rest of them, there were 3, 4 staff, I said, he doesn't want to introduce me to his grandfather. Maybe he doesn't trust me or his grandfather. Or it could be another issue. He doesn't have good running shoes.
He would need good running shoes to keep up to you no matter what age he is. So that definitely might be it for sure. I can barely keep up to you.
I want to mention about acceptance. I wasn't accepted in my own family because of wanting to be my own person. But then being so blessed to meet a young Swede, unconditional acceptance that I had never had before or after he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And just for everybody listening, that is Rudy.
Rudy, yes.
Because you had mentioned him a few times at the beginning, and I just wanted everyone to know exactly who he was.
Yeah, I met him in October of 1945. About a dozen of the refugees, we lived in a dormitory about a half an hour out in the country from Stockholm. And I allowed them to talk me into to go to a dance in October. Why? Because I had never danced with a boy. At home, we danced with girls, even at a wedding. That wasn't in my environment, in the fundamentalist environment.
Mm-hmm.
These were Jewish girls, but modern and well-educated. And there comes this young Swede. The boys are on one side, the girls on another side. He asked me to dance. I'm shaking like a fish. I got over it quickly. The next thing I see, beautiful Swedish girl come in to the coat room, and before she put her coat on a hanger, he went out and said something, and I wouldn't have heard her or heard him, and she left. Then I found out that that girl became his ex-girlfriend after one dance. When I was invited to his home, his mom had this beautiful, about 5x7 picture on her buffet in the dining room. I said, Rudy, you gotta go with the Swedish girl. I mean, I'm 21, I've never been to school. He was going for engineering and a technical institute. I'm different. And he said this, it's okay to be different. What's not okay, it's when we're indifferent.
Mm.
And because we have these feelings, I'm better than you, you're better than him or her, we have so many issues, globally speaking. Nobody should walk with their head down and feel less than someone else. Yes, there are 6 basic races, to the point that we're preoccupied with those different races, that we keep forgetting one race, the human race. We're all part of. We want to have peace, we have to embrace. I or me or who will not do it. We can do it. We can achieve peace if we choose to.
Mhm.
I think everybody needs to hear your story right now, Eva. Everybody in the whole world needs to hear your story right now. So Yvonne, let's just take a moment. And most people know that you've been a nurse for 27 years. How did that career prepare you for the second act of your life?
Mhm. Well, first of all, the last time we spoke, didn't I promise myself that I would not speak after Eva? Because it's very difficult to speak after Eva, after hearing your story, because I'm just so mesmerized, Eva, and by everything that you have chosen to become, everything that you have chosen to overcome. And I just love, part of my life right now is meeting my heroes, and you are one of my heroes. I know that's not what your goal in life is, to be a hero, but you are one of my heroes, and I thank you so much. I look up to you, even though you're littler. I have to look down, and when I have to look down, but I look up to you, I promise. Yes. Did you want?
Yes.
Of course.
I once in Toronto, the Scandinavian club, and this very tall man came over and asked me to dance on Church Street in Toronto. And he said, hi, shorty. And I said, well, I don't worry, because good things come in small packages.
Exactly. Feisty. Exactly. You told him. That's right. That is right. You are the complete package. So my nursing career, it is so interesting that, even just going back to high school, when I entered high school, I was this naive girl, and I thought I was kind of competent. And then slowly through high school, I made the mistake of trying to please everybody, right? Trying to fit in everywhere. And because I didn't, and if this person didn't like me, it sort of chipped away at my self-esteem. And then I went into nursing school, and I wanted to help everyone, and I wanted to be that kind of nurse that, was very compassionate, and I was very funny, but I was very ill prepared for grief and life's challenges, and the challenges that I would face in my life and that I would face in the lives of patients and families. And so that chipped away at my soul as well. But I spent many years pretending that I was okay, right? Just much like Eva, for many years, you stayed silent. I stayed silent about my own suffering, and I just pretended I was okay, and it just slowly eats away at you. And so in working in small hospitals and big hospitals and emergency chemotherapy, hospice, palliative care, intensive care, I realized no matter where I was, people were ill prepared for grief, life's challenges, and end of life. And when I tried to talk about it, we don't want to talk about that. Let's not talk about that stuff. And it became more and more challenging. And then I shared briefly last time, it was 10 years ago, 2010, when our older son had an injury and then started down a road of drugs and addiction. I just couldn't ignore my own grief anymore. So what prepared me, it's interesting because like your father prepared you for how you did not want to be, right? All that negativity, that part prepared me for how I didn't want to be. And then something wonderful also happened in 1998. I think it's right over here. I saw a movie, and this movie was called Patch Adams. Many people have seen this movie. Can you see that?
Yes.
That stars Robin Williams, who lives in my heart forever. And the movie was about bringing heart and humor to those who were suffering. And I thought, that's what I want to do. I'm funny. I'm compassionate. I want to bring heart and humor wherever I go, because no matter how serious something is, isn't it so wonderful to have real human connection, right? To connect on a level, to be vulnerable, to laugh, to cry, whatever, allowing all humanness. And so I started to realize that when I watched that movie, I brought in heart and humor, but I still suffered excessively with grief and life's challenges. So at age 50, which is 5 years ago, yes, everyone can say, oh my goodness, you don't look 55. Anybody? Nobody? Okay. Anyways, no way. Okay. So
leave your comments below.
So I realized that I needed to do something differently. And what was so magical about choosing to change my life, to become a voice for change, to help people learn to accept themselves, to love others unconditionally and be vulnerable, is I continue to meet people like you, Eva, who showed me that you can overcome. And like you said, you cannot change the past, but what you can do is choose now. What you can do is choose now. So that's what I grieved the past and the hardship. I grieved it. And then I said, now what? Right? Now what can I do? And so I became a voice for change, and I sought out other people, and I met people like Eva. And I shared Eva on my radio show, on my television show, on my blogs, and here, wherever I can, because it is an incredible privilege to connect with you, to have a friendship with you, and to share a message, because especially in this time, people are very challenged. We are in the midst of a pandemic. There's a crisis with racism that has been ongoing and there's been a light shone on it. And I hold on to stories like Eva, who says, I grew up in a challenging environment. I survived the Holocaust. The love of my life died when I was 39. I became a single parent. I didn't read or write, or I didn't work. My goodness. So it's so wonderful to meet and connect with people who say, okay, we can do this, and we can actually find joy in our lives again. And when you look at my back, do you see my background here? Do you see all the toys? Do you see all these toys and everything? So as I shaped my career after watching the movie Patch Adams, when I was writing my book, I also reached out to his organization, the Gesundheit Institute. I got a quote from Patch for my book, Love Your Life to Death. And then I started to study Patch Adams and all the work he is doing in the world. And he does clowning around the world, and he brings people with him who are suffering themselves, with post-traumatic stress disorder, with deep unhappiness and low self-esteem. And he brings them to third world countries, and he brings them to places where people are suffering, and they visit the people that are suffering the most. And I aspire to do one of these trips, and I aspire to meet Patch Adams in person, but I can share, Jordy says, you can't even hold this in. I can hold it in. I did interview the real Patch Adams on my show.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yes, by Skype. And so this was my background. I wanted it to be patch worthy.
Yeah.
But he is another one of my heroes, because when he was 18 and he could no longer, he didn't feel like he could live in a world of such violence and sadness, and he was suicidal. And then fast forward, he chose to create a love revolution instead. So you see, from our pain, we can create passion and purpose. And we've all done this. We've all, right, from different stories.
Right.
It gives everyone hope for a better tomorrow, because it doesn't matter what we've been through. We can choose a better tomorrow. And so I'm constantly, I mean, I'm still excited. And yes, I'm in the middle of a pandemic, and we have 15-year-old twins who are so bored and all of the things. And yet we can find it right within ourselves to choose how we move forward, right?
Exactly.
Yes. So Eva, feel free to add to that. You always have so much wisdom to share.
Yeah, I would like to add this. It has to do with my son. Rudy was in the hospital at that time, and Rudy was hurt, Jan was 7.
Right.
And he used to come home with his clothes all muddy. His grandmother from Sweden sent him a beautiful navy gabardine ski suit with lambskin lining. And I went to his teacher, Miss G, and see if he's provoking someone. She said no, she just praised him. And then I said, okay, I'm going to the principal. And the principal said this: kids will be the kids. And I said to him, those kids, one of those kids will replace you someday. And he acted. We found out who the bully was. Neighbor's son. And she was called. She wasn't very happy. She called me, and she really let into me and didn't speak to me for a long, long time. So what I'm trying to say here, for parents, if your children are being bullied, don't ignore it. Go into the bottom of it, see what's the cause. Don't just, forget about it. Somebody's silly or somebody's mean or whatever. You have to look into it. Don't let it die. I did. And I spoke, they moved to Halliburton. And I was 78 at that time. And their daughter was at Halliburton. And the mother, they came to hear me speak. And she said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And you had to carry that inside you all these years.
Wow.
Wow.
So as always, the story, we go through the time so quickly. We only have a couple of minutes left, but I know that we will have to get together and do this again. Eva?
I like that.
That sounds great. So within about 1 minute or less, if you could just share one final thought for us, Or maybe we should have Yvonne go first. Yvonne?
Yes,
Yvonne,
I'll
you
do it
have
quickly.
1 minute, and then
1
Eva
minute.
has 1 minute, and then I'm turning this off because we're going to run out of time.
All right. I just want to remind everyone to remember to just show up for themselves first. You have value and you matter regardless of age, skin color, culture, sexual orientation, ability, disability, economic situation. We all have value and we all matter. If you are struggling at this time, please reach out to someone. Being courageous means being vulnerable and saying, I'm not okay. And for those who are doing okay, just show up for others, because a call, a text, an email, a check-in, how are you doing at this time can truly change a person's day, and it can change their lives. It doesn't take a lot of time or money to just show up for each other.
Amazing.
How was that?
That was good. Eva, you've got about 30 seconds.
Okay. What I want to say to parents, that discipline does not work. I'm a product of that environment. The only way discipline works, when we sit down and we talk about issues with compassion. Dialogue and compassion.
I love
the
it.
other does not work.
I love it. And I know that we will have to do this again. Thank you both. Thank you both very much for joining us. This has been our second installment of Meaningful Conversations with Eva Olsson and Yvonne Heath. Take care.
Thank you,
Bye
Jordan.
for now.
Love you. Love
Bye
you.
now.